You're listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and it's time for this week's Long Island News, the show that talks to newsmakers and other important people from Nassau and Suffolk County that matter to Long Island and Long Islanders like you. So each week we'll have a conversation about issues that affect all of us. I live on Long Island just like you, and I want to know more about the people making the big decisions that affect all of us. Well, this week, we're going to talk to one of the candidates running for Congress in New York's 3rd District. You may think this is a repeat episode, as we've done this with the special election earlier this year, but that election was special, and this seat is up for grabs once again this November. Of course, Tom Suozzi is currently in the seat and is seeking re-election, but today we're going to speak to the person trying to turn that seat back to red. The candidate on the Republican ticket is Mike LiPetri, and he joins us today. Thanks, Mike, for being here, and welcome to this week's Long Island News.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it immensely.
All right, so briefly, for those that don't know much about you, now you're a graduate of Farmingdale High School?
I am indeed.
Me too.
Oh, there we go, Billy. That's what I'm talking about.
What year did you graduate?
2008. I'm 34 years old for everyone who wants to do that math.
Wow.
So born and raised in Nassau County my whole life, Farmingdale man. And for me, this is homegrown effort. And for me, it's about making sure we're the hometown voice that we can trust.
Wow, Farmingdale High School. Look at that. I graduated 30 years before you did.
A little bit. All right.
Yeah,
all right. So
it was when, I don't know, certainly a different world. You know, in those
that
days.
is for sure.
Yeah.
You guys had some common sense back then. Now we're missing that. We're trying to restore it this year.
I think things in general were, we didn't have social media back then.
Oh, social media.
So we did not have that monkey on our back. I feel so bad for kids today because they're juggling, we were juggling enough balls, for trying to sports and all of those. They've got that too now. Emotionally, I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I grew up right when social media was being introduced and brought into the limelight. So I saw it actually be created when I was in high school is when you started first hearing about it. First off, you had MySpace, right? And then, remember MySpace, right? Top 8? I tell you what.
You just reminded me of Napster.
Right, Napster, there you go. But think about it. And then after that, then you heard about Facebook. And you're like, what is this Facebook? And then so on and so forth.
Well, and now Facebook, according to the kids, Facebook is for old folks.
It is.
It's not, it's not cool anymore.
It's not cool. Instagram.
Right.
My IG. Got my IG.
And they'll go by the wayside, too. Something else will come along.
Always is.
A holographic picture you can look at.
By that point, AI will probably take over and they'll just be recreating your face.
I'm already scared. Okay?
Exactly.
Anyway, so now tell us about your professional career. You have a law degree, too. Right?
I do, yeah. So after Farmingdale, I graduated high school and then thereafter went to University of Albany, SUNY. So from SUNY Albany, I was in the state capitol, seat of state government, which is what brought me there. And then thereafter, I graduated Albany Law School, magna cum laude. I was editor-in-chief of the Government Law Review. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I went to work for the New York City Law Department, where I defended the NYPD, FDNY correctional officers, and all civil lawsuits brought against the city and its agencies to save taxpayer money.
I want to read your book. Yeah.
And then after that, I went into private practice at Rivkin Radler on the island, which is a great law firm, learned a lot there. And then I actually took a leave of absence from my law career to run for the New York State Assembly, where I took out a Democrat incumbent by knocking on 20,000 doors to win my seat in the state legislature during a difficult year. And ultimately, it came down to it was people loved the fact that I was just about bringing authentic, honest government back to the people, where the people aren't afraid of the government, but rather the government is afraid of its people. And for me, most importantly, is I wanted to have that faith instilled and restored back. So I don't come from a political family. My mother was a nurse, 42 years in ICU, CCU. Wow. My father worked for National Grid and Keyspan. And before that, remember Lilco? You remember? Yeah, that's right. Lilco. So I saw them, they worked not only those 2 jobs, but they worked 3 other jobs on top of it. So I saw them work 5 jobs to provide for a great life for my sister and I. And for me, I looked at it as saying, why is government making our lives harder, not easier? Right? You should get out of the way. Don't get in front of it. So,
well, if we talk about changes, I come from a time when one salary afforded a house.
Thank you.
And you could send kids to college and you could do all those things.
It's impossible now.
But those things, they didn't just happen. I think those things are intended. They're not unintended consequences of lousy laws that were passed. It's almost hurting people. We want them working. We don't care that they're a mom.
Right.
We don't care that they've got kids.
Right.
That's their problem.
Correct.
And one of the biggest things and I think women took the brunt of this, is childcare. It was always left to the women. They have to, so now a woman would go out and get a job, and realized that her job was solely to pay for the child care. So it didn't help the family get ahead at all.
Well, my generation now is doing the math on it and saying it doesn't pay for me to work because the child care, exactly that. I'd just be paying for the child care. So I might as well just stay home, because especially every mom would agree, I want to be the one raising my kids, not some random stranger, right?
Yeah.
That's ultimately important.
It always, I mean, people aren't having children for these reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Because, to look at that. And I've always wondered about, people screaming, oh, we're overpopulated. Yet, to be overpopulated, that would mean that you and your wife would have to replicate yourselves. You'd have to have at least two. That keeps it even. That doesn't push it over. So how many people do you know now are having 5 and 6 kids?
Never.
I don't see this. I think the population problem might just be, a scare tactic or a scary story. It's not like we don't have enough food on the planet. There's plenty of food on the planet. There's no political will to get it where it needs to be, which is a horrible thing.
Well, that's why it's important that you know who your leaders are, and that you make sure that they actually have the heart in this race to make a difference, as opposed to just simply doing it for themselves. I think you're seeing too much selfishness that pervades across politics. I think you're seeing too many people that aren't engaged and interested, and I think it's about creating an informed electorate. And for me, most importantly, is you were talking about that social media before. During my time in the New York State Assembly, I was actually utilizing social media in a benefit to provide information rather than entertainment. So for me, specifically how I was voting, why I was voting on certain bills, I was always making sure my constituents were aware of it. So they went to my page at Mike LiPetri on Instagram and Facebook, is they were able to see, hey, Mike's voting this way for these reasons. Mike's doing this for these reasons. What's going on in our state government right now? He's giving us updates. It's creating that informed electorate so that my constituents know, okay, I'm just going to turn to Mike, because Mike, no matter what, is going to say it like it is and tell me exactly why certain things are good and why certain things are bad. And at least you're hearing it out of the horse's mouth. You're hearing it from me.
Right.
So there's no one that's construing it, editorializing it. It's a matter of people are hearing it from their representative directly, and they get to say, okay, I agree with him on that, or I don't agree with him on that. But at least you know.
Right. That's
what I want more than anything. You're going to know with me. It's not going to be walking a gray line and just worrying about re-election. It's about doing what's right. That's why I'm getting into this.
Well, here's the other thing is, again, we talk a lot on this show about optics, because sometimes that's all we have is what it looks like. And again, I come from a time where if it looked bad, you didn't do it. That seems to have gone by the wayside also, because now if it looks bad, a lot of leaders don't care. They just don't care. That's a scary thing, and it's a new, it would seem to me that there are quite a few Republicans, and they're not afraid of Democrats. They're really not afraid of them, and as they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because personally, my big complaint about Democrats is when they get a chance to do something or to slap back on something that's been foisted on them, they don't do it. But it seems to me that there are quite a few Republican lawmakers who are more afraid of their own party than they are of the other. And we all have, what would you say, factions in each party that are off the rails. But some of those factions scare the rest of the, of the body. You have any feelings about that, worried about saying something that?
So when I first ran for the state assembly, I campaigned on the promise that extremism on either side cannot be tolerated. And I won't allow people to intimidate me. I won't allow people to silence me. I won't allow people to ever prevent me from doing what I seek to do for the good of the people. And ultimately, I think we need that more than ever. Now, my opponent, Tom Suozzi, I know he bent the knee to Kathy Hochul, and he promises to do whatever she wants. Same thing with now Joe Biden. He's doubling down and loving Joe Biden with saying he's got years of accomplishments. For me, it's about doing what's right for the district of the 3rd Congressional seat on Long Island, in Nassau County.
You still in Farmingdale?
I wanted to stay in Farmingdale. So for me, it's just a matter of I wanted to continue that. I love that community. It's my friends, my family.
That's where I grew up.
That's what I mean. So for me, I don't want to have it where people are leaving. I want to have it where people are flocking to Long Island. I want to have it where we're creating more opportunities, more industries, more possibilities.
Yeah, it just seems though traditionally, the MO is that you make your money here and you spend it somewhere else.
I know.
You go and retire.
But now with remote work on top of it, so my younger generation,
I can live anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can just post-COVID, you have to realize that now you have the accessibility where all you need is a laptop and a cell phone, and you can work anywhere around the world, not only in the country, around the world. So if you don't give them any reasons to stay, they're leaving.
I'd be living on the beach in Cancun with my my Samsung, smartphone.
Precisely. And that's what people are doing.
Yeah.
Right? Especially you can collect a New York salary and then go live in Georgia. My buddy just did that.
God bless.
He's now leaving and he's going to Georgia. My other friend is leaving, went to Texas. So, I mean, this is my generation that's going. And then what? How do we have that to replace? Who's being replaced? You talked about.
Well, how did you do when you went to law school?
Right.
Did you need student loans to do that?
Oh, yeah. Need student loans? Absolutely.
So, the deal of the things that are going on, it gets ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
People have paid more than what they took in the first place, but because of the interest rates, their bottom line stayed the same. They paid for years, and that number never.
I'm one of those people. I'm right there with everybody. I get it. It's a huge problem, the student loan crisis. We're having a problem. You have student loans, you have housing, you have utility, energy costs, grocery costs, affordability, inflation. I mean, the list keeps going on and on. And you're talking about social media, how it's on the shoulder of younger generations. Wait till you add the costs. It's choking our future. Yeah, and people are looking at it that the darkness of yesterday has to be replaced with the lights of tomorrow.
Well, let's hope. Just a reminder, you're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and today we're talking to Mike LiPetri, who is the Republican candidate in the election for a congressional seat in New York's 3rd District, currently held by Tom Suozzi. Very true. I mean, it's not a good picture.
It's not a good picture, and that's what you have to reinstill faith into people.
To me, I don't really like an interview kind of show. I like a conversation.
Yeah, of course.
That's and you seem to me just on that. You want to get in there and you want to start pitching for people.
I did it already in the state assembly.
Yeah,
that's the beauty. Is that
this could be a different game, and it's. There's the perception by a lot of people. Why would you want to get into politics? They look at somebody and go, who is this guy and what the hell is he thinking? Because it's dirtier than we've ever seen it. There's more propaganda. There's a lot more at play. Oh. You talk about educating the public. That's an uphill climb, let me tell you.
I get it.
George Carlin always talked about it, and I bring it up all the time on the show for us to realize what we're dealing with as far as the populace and the mob mentality. He went out into the street to ask the 50th percentile, the guy who's just right in the middle.
Yeah.
He didn't know who his state senators were. He didn't know who his congressman was. He knew none of those things. And you have to realize that at the 50th percentile, guess what? Half of the people are below him.
Understand.
So we haven't spent a lot of money on education, and that's one of the raps against the Republican Party is they always vote it down. And then turn around and say, we want an educated populace. Well, your actions say you don't. That seems to be the tradition. I'm not saying you, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, for me, it's about pushing that not only education, but it's also pushing financial literacy. It's pushing skill sets. It's pushing trades. It's pushing opportunities. It's pushing the entrepreneurial mindset. So for me, why am I getting into this? Because I'm getting into this because I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines and allowing the status quo to pervade, where people feel hopeless, people feel empty, people feel darkness. And I said that I want to get involved to make that change because I believe, listen, I came from a family of baseball players. That's what we did. Right. We played baseball my whole life. My grandfather he played in the MLB for the Philadelphia Phillies. It was awesome. He's roomed with Satchel Paige, so I'll tell you stories about that another time, Bill.
Most of those kids don't know who Satchel Paige
I know. But I had those stories and that competitive mentality where it's a matter of you got to earn your seat. No one ever handed me anything. I know Tom Suozzi had a political family and his daddy took care of him, but for me, it's a matter of I had to make my own way, right? And I never got it. Even with the New York City Law Department, when I first applied for that, I was one of 50 selected out of 2,000 applicants. Like you have to earn your way through. And for me now, I have to earn my way through because I want to get involved and I want to show the people that, hey, you can, with the right person in power, he can make a difference or she can make a difference. And ultimately, I'm doing this because I want to try. I want to show people.
Now, if I look up you have a voting record? Or,
yes,
yeah. So you have all of that stuff is
baby.
Right there.
That's all public.
One of the latest things that we saw, and again, I'm not talking about you specifically, I think in Congress, Republicans, every one of them voted down the infrastructure bill. And then when they went home to their home districts, stood there for the photo ops to take credit for all this great work that was going on for something they voted down. Now, that's the electorate that you're talking about, who sat there and smiled at that didn't bother to look up the voting record, didn't bother to see what really happened, and just rah-rahed their favorite candidate.
Right.
This is all about a popularity contest. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of substance underneath with people really, they say, I did my research. What? You read a Wikipedia article?
Right.
You did your research. No, that's not it.
No, we're bringing not only brains to politics, but we're bringing heart to politics. People that want to be here. Remember, Tom Suozzi left this seat to run for governor. So he's done that multiple times. He was a county executive, left the seat to run for governor, didn't win, and then he lost county executive. And then now in Congress, he left the seat, run for governor, didn't win. Now he was going. So for us, what I want is somebody that actually, I left my state assembly seat to run for Congress. So for me, I want to be not a congressman. I want to be a congressman for home, for our voice here on Long Island.
The thing you got going, that isn't easy. Tom Suozzi has been a politician on Long Island for a long time, and he's done a lot of good things. So that's a track record, and I think that's
You think so?
Well,
we got the plume issue that's still going on.
Oh,
we got airplane noise that's still going on.
That's Grumman. That's Grumman and Northwell.
He was county executive during that. And we still got it 20-some years later. Yeah. We got airplane noise still going on.
That's been going on since 1940.
Yeah, well, and
so that you can't pin that on Suozzi. I was probably a 10-year-old when that started.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that's
Well, I'm looking at it where we still have the problems continuing.
They just found another 22 barrels buried in the ground.
My point exactly.
But they're still arguing about whose responsibility it is.
Well, my point is that when I was
as a congressman, are you going to get in the middle of that and knock heads and make them come to some kind of?
We're going to clean it up.
That thing's moving it. You're never going to clean it up.
Yes, we are. I did it as a state assemblyman. I had a plume.
And it's clean.
I had a plume issue that we had a full remediation of.
This plume is 900 feet deep.
We had a full remediation,
and it's halfway to Jones Beach.
As a state assemblyman, we had a full remediation with DEC to clean up a toxic plume that was in my district. It's a matter of pushing. What they wanted to do is they wanted to spend half the money to do a superficial cleanup, and then I pushed back with the residents in the community to make sure we had a full remediation.
And you were fully satisfied that it was fully remediated.
100%. And until we had recent storms, I heard.
Okay, and we can look that up.
Go look it up.
And what district are you talking about?
That was over the West Islip. That was West Islip plume over Zeus Fastener. Go check it out. We had a whole cleanup. That was about 5 years ago now.
And you were aware of this one too, because it's not just Northrop Grumman. The Motor Avenue, that line of stores that went all the way down Motor Avenue. There was a photo engraving place there since the 1920s. Fiberglass Resources was there. All of these companies dumped their stuff in the ground. That added to the plume, and that's specifically Farmingdale.
Oh yeah, that's home.
And there were some groups, talking about the cancer rates as compared to other towns and other.
Yeah, and on top of it, what we did when I was an assemblyman, I was the chair of the statewide water quality task force to identify proactive solutions to prevent these type of contaminations from occurring. I voted against allowing PFOA and PFOS chemicals to protrude through our in our various products.
And how did passing a law about that really help you? Because they did it anyway.
With what?
Half of the stuff they poured into the ground
beforehand.
It was all it's always been illegal to do.
No, we actually banned these chemicals. These are new emerging contaminants that we banned.
Okay, and they disappeared.
In the past they were allowed, and
you get what I'm saying.
My point is, what I'm trying to say is, we're taking action on these matters.
Well, you're passing laws, and
that was passing laws, and then on top of it, I was doing cleanups as well. So my point is,
it's the same as anything else, though. It's like you can pass a law, but if someone doesn't have the political will to follow it through and make sure that people are, held to the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Not, we looked at it Tuesday, but we're not going to look at it Wednesday. We see a lot of that.
Well, I hear you on that. All of a sudden,
as it doesn't become the issue of the minute, and we move to the next thing.
I hear you on that, buddy. And that's my point about how stepping in now in Congress, you're following through with that action. That's my point, is not only just passing the law, but now you're making sure it's enforced, right? Enforcement is key, not just legislating, but then enforcing it and staying on top of it. I'm going to be extremely active. I'm going to be extremely engaged. I'm going to be extremely involved. Democrat, Republican, conservative, whoever you may be, independent, you want to reach out to me, you're going to say, hey, Mike, I want to talk to you about this. great. Let's talk. I'm not somebody that's going to be shunning you away because we may disagree or whatnot. I think we need that more than anything else.
That's good. Sounds good.
We're having some fun, Bill.
You're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and today we're talking to Mr. Mike LiPetri, who is the Republican candidate in the election for a congressional seat in New York's 3rd District, currently held by Tom Suozzi. Okay, now
don't forget to tell them, follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Mike LiPetri.
You'll get a shot to do that again, too. So now we have a bunch of things here.
Lightning round. Let's do it.
Well, Mazi Pilip tried to win the seat back in the special election. And you mentioned a little bit what's different now. I'm also told your top campaign priorities are affordability, safety, and finding common ground, which you mentioned. But, a lot of these, like affordability, the rents are incredible now.
It's crazy.
I could have gotten a nice mansion for what they get for a 2-bedroom apartment now. I don't know how do you roll that back? It's the same thing as how do you deal with developers? It seems that every available piece of property on Long Island, they're putting up, and it all looks like 55 and older building, stuff. I mean, I know we need it. But who's riding herd on exactly what parcels can be, otherwise we're going to look like Queens in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for me, I want to see the creation of single-family homes. So that's what I want to see encouraged, is that we want homes, it's amalgam of issues. It's property taxes, it's energy costs, it's also supply. And what you're seeing is actually an illegal immigration issue, which is right here at home, right? It's not 2,000 miles away. It's right here at Creedmoor and Queens, where you're having the migrant issue. You're having illegal aliens that are flooding through. And what's happening is that it's bleeding into Long Island, and that's creating supply issues because many of these illegal aliens who are here or have been here over the past couple of years now are renting homes all across Long Island, taking up spaces for law-abiding citizens. And people don't talk about that. And that's just the facts of the matter. And so for me, what I'm looking at is a whole host of issues. We have to bring down the energy costs. We have to bring down the property taxes. We have to limit it. We have to provide and promote more supply. And those that are taking up our supply, we have to remove out of here to allow for law-abiding citizens to take precedent. It's about putting our country first and making sure that law-abiding citizens who are following the rules, doing what's right, they're the ones that get taken care of. That's what I care about more than anything else.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the attempted assassination of former president?
It's devastating. Like anybody should say, if it was Democrat or Republican, it's devastating that we have an attempted assassination of a political candidate, period. That's not what our country's about. We need to have it where our country stands together. We need to be proud to be American. Think about it. Think about this, Bill.
I got to stop you right there. We got to be proud to be American. How do you feel about belonging to the party that has a convicted felon as their candidate?
No, what I feel is proud to be American of our future. What you're talking about is you're saying a situation from a DA that prosecuted a crime.
I don't want to get into
that. So we can go into all that.
I know.
So what it comes down to is simply this: is that do you want to be in this country? Do you love this country? Do you think we can be better? We have to raise our standards. We have to demand bold, dynamic leadership. We have to.
Wait a minute, you're talking about raising your standards, and then we have a convicted felon as our candidate. The one thing about it is if Donald Trump gets elected, my feeling is a lot of people are going to try and change history, and they're going to have versions of things that happen. The only saving grace in all of this is that we can change all of the talk that we want to, but the rest of the world is watching this, and their historians are not necessarily going to go with everyone else's take of what happened in America. We're going to see in 20 years, we're actually going to get to read what really went down in America, and everyone's staked their side, so we all know who's who.
Right.
Because when it hits the fan and people start complaining, I have it. Wait a minute. You wanted this. You asked for this.
I want peace across the world. I want a secure border. I want low cost. When I go to the grocery store, I'm not paying a fortune. When I go to the gas station, I'm not paying a fortune.
Although we've pretty much figured out that it wasn't necessarily the fiscal times. Businesses have been, for a long time now. I used to buy 16 ounces of coffee. It's 10 ounces now.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same price.
Oh, yeah.
That's not fiscal and financial stuff. That's a corporation taking money out of my pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And you even look at cookies. You see that the plastic that they're in is kind of bigger and the cookie's got a little smaller.
Well, that's what happens when you have monopolies that control in big business, big food, big tech. Too much is where you're not having a competitive market. When you have burdensome federal oversight that cripples the smaller competitive business and it allows the bigger businesses to prevail. That's facts. That's what always happens, is that when you have too much of oversight and overhead, it cripples those and it prevents competition.
Something else for your point. Actually, today you heard about the IT planes grounded.
Yep.
Financial services are grounded. Banks, I don't think, can do business either.
Yep.
And that goes to your idea of
it's all controlled by one entity. And when that happens, it crumbles. Then you're beholden.
Bingo.
That's the last thing I want, is the people have to be beholden to anybody but themselves.
Now, your website states that you don't support a national abortion ban.
Correct.
What are your thoughts? That's a sensitive subject, but what are your thoughts?
Listen, in the state legislature, I voted against 7th, 8th, and 9th month abortion. I think late-term abortion is too extreme unless to save the life of the mother. I think that in the beginning, you have to have a reasonable balance, and allowing that woman the right to choose is reasonable. But I will never be supporting a national abortion ban at the federal level. At the end of the day, it comes down to providing for women's rights, parental rights, and making sure our families on Long Island can have that local, organic, bottom-up control, not this top-down government control.
Sounds good. Your website also says, okay, we talked about immigration. You support immigration as legal immigration.
Legal merit-based immigration.
And this is
Who doesn't support that?
This is one of the things that, just a heads up to anybody talking about it. I understand, the border's open, they're all like, okay, you can say all of that. But you also have to add that you would like some kind of an avenue for people who genuinely want to come with good intentions.
Absolutely.
And not everyone coming over the border is a criminal.
No.
But that's the picture we get.
And
oh my God, another,
And the issue on top of it is those who are coming over the border. The problem is that they're reaping 80% are actually taking from the government rather than contributing from the government. I want to flip that by having legal merit-based immigration that provides for those immigrants that are coming, 80% are actually contributing back to this country. Through skills, through knowledge, through intelligence, through expertise.
We've spoken for nearly half an hour now. Mike is yours. Tell them where they can find you and what do you want to say to people?
See more about me online, LiPetri4Congress.com. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at Mike LiPetri, to keep you up to date on where I stand on the issues. At the end of the day, this is about eliminating the problems of the past, the status quo, demanding more, and wanting to have a brighter future, to create a fresh start, to restore common sense for law-abiding citizens, doing what's right, not what's easy, by creating safe, affordable communities for our future and promoting parents and law-abiding citizens the best life they can.
And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good to me. And for the record, my guest today has been Mike LiPetri, who is the Republican candidate in the election for a congressional seat in New York's 3rd District. And again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and good luck in the election. And for the record, we have offered equal time to Mr. LiPetri's opponent, Mr. Tom Suozzi, and hope to have him on the air in the coming weeks. But the clock on the wall says it's time for this week's Long Island News to get on out of here. I'm Bill McIntyre. Remember, you can listen to us by searching for this week's Long Island News wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're right here on the radio every Friday at 3 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.